Hello, everyone. I'm Bill Borden. I'm the Corporate Vice President of Worldwide Financial Services here at Microsoft. Thank you for joining me for this next episode of my series, The Borden Line. If you're just tuning in, my goal for this series is to open up a line of conversation with thought leaders and innovators to discuss the latest trends, hot topics, insights, and solutions across the financial services industry. I'm excited to be joining you today from London while I'm here to participate in Microsoft's London AI Tour event and to have two local guests here with me today. Joining me is Lyndon Subroyen, Chief Technology Officer for Investec, and Theo Michalopoulos, Microsoft's General Manager for Financial Services here in the UK. All right, let's get started. Lyndon, Theo, huge thanks and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you for having us, Bill.
All right, and good to be in your hometown again. All right, so again, we're here globally. We're here specifically focused on the UK market for our AI tour. But I want to get your local perspectives on AI. It's been a couple of years now, right? A fast 2 years, right? With the announcement of generative AI and the democratization of the technologies. So I'd love to get your perspectives around what that's meant for you and your business. So let me start with you, Lyndon.
Thanks, Bill. Look, it's been, a roller coaster 2 years. I think it's fair to say the technology is filling the industry with a lot of promise. There is still a belief that this is going to be an absolute game changer. It's going to be a force multiplier. But the embedding of the capabilities into financial services groups have gone maybe a little bit slower than we would have liked. I'm a massive believer in the potential of what we have here. I think 2 years in, we're seeing a lot of focus on productivity gains. As an organization with us using platforms like Copilot, we're seeing that really start to get produced. But the real dial-moving use cases, I think, are yet to come. But it's going to be a force multiplier. I'm a big believer in that.
And use cases hasn't been the challenge as I talk to firms around the world. Tell me about what that's been like for you coming up with cases.
No, it hasn't been the challenge. It's been, because AI wasn't invented 2 years ago, of course, right? Mm-hmm. I think there's always been a view that the use cases are there, the technology needs to catch up to the use cases that we want to achieve, and we're starting to finally see these things coalesce, right? So shifting from how we can improve day-to-day productivity internally with our internal staff, everyone from the client support centers or the call centers that we have, all the way to the strategy offices and everything in between, you're starting to see use cases develop that helps them boost their productivity. Our organization is focused on pursuing particularly that strategy initially. We've branded it around an augmented Investec. So the language we're using is we are building Investec Augmented, the next iteration of our organization. And the goal is purely to focus on how we can create the one thing that no matter how much money you have, you can't buy, and that's time. Mm-hmm. And we believe this technology now gives us the ability to do that. And that's what we're focused on. So whether it's helping us to produce new really rapid credit reports internally for our internal consumption or producing equity research that goes out to clients. We're finding all of these use cases now starting to really be able to deliver it at pace, which we couldn't do before.
And Theo, I'm going to turn to you. You cover all of the financial services customers in the UK. And so obviously you're seeing a broad array of how customers are looking to implement. Yeah. So what's your view on the last 2 years?
Yeah, so basically, I would agree with Lyndon that the industry, we wanted this to go faster. But if we turn back 2 years, I would say that we might have been going a little bit faster than what we expected 2 years ago. With all the legacy, the technical debt, the regulation, we were expecting financial industry to be the last one. And I think that we are in the front of many applications and many use cases, and we can see many of our customers, including Investec, moving in this direction, and I think that we're close to the inflection point. Having said that, the UK as a country is very active on this game, and every country in the world is looking how to augment the opportunities for an impact on the GDP and the quality of life and for the country. And we as Microsoft, we are participating on this. We are investing heavily on the infrastructure, with 2.5 billion of new investments for new generation data centers, 20,000 GPUs to be deployed across the UK, a skilling program, so all the right ingredients to support the country's vision of leading with AI.
Yeah, big investment, right?
Very big.
that investment is in lieu of hearing about the visions that many customers are talking about how they want to use AI. And so the AI tour theme this year is turning vision into impact. And so love to get your perspective right around one, the idea around how you, your senior executives, your board have thought about that vision, but then more importantly, and you're touching on it, right? How do you really turn that into something that comes to reality?
Yeah, Bill, I mentioned this idea of us having an organization that we believe is augmented digitally. So think of an organization filled with bionic bankers and bionic wealth managers and bionic risk managers, not through physical augmentation, but digital augmentation. And that's the idea that we're working towards now. So, over the next 5 years, having an organization that is digital at its core. Like many FS groups, as Theo's mentioned, we are digital immigrants. We're still dealing with cleaning up some of our legacy. So you could get stuck on, well, until that's done, we're not going to focus on what the future looks like. We've opted to try and do both. So we know we've got a whole lot to modernize, but at the same time, you're at an incredible inflection point where the technology is able to augment every person in every role in our organization. And we've set ourselves a goal that over the next few years, we think we can create 30% more time in every person's role in every day based on what they do. That frees them up to focus on the things we think are high value tasks. Based on our culture, the thing that we value quite a lot is, physical interactions, face-to-face engagements. We believe that when our people spend time with each other and our people spend time with our clients, we can create moments of magic. So very simply, we're going, well, how do we create value out of this? If I can find a way to have every person in our group create moments of magic for our clients and for their colleagues, that's a marker of success. It's just one of the early ways we're starting to think about this.
I love that, moments of magic, which is awesome. And as you're talking about use cases and moments of magic, where have you found the push? Has it been more around return and productivity internally? Has it been more demand from your customers? Has it been more demand from your senior executives saying, I want to see some actions? Or where's the push? Or is it even?
I'd say all of the above, myself included. I'm known to be pretty restless. Your team at Microsoft will tell you. I'm known to be a restless spirit. So the push comes from within me and from the teams around me, from our clients, from the senior executives in the group that I work in, not from the regulators, who are really cautious.
Yes.
And they'd like us to make sure we're measured in our approach, not causing any harm. And that is probably why, as Theo mentioned, we would have thought this is going to go a bit slower, but we're seeing quite a big push. Because I think dealing with regulation is something that financial services groups are pretty good at. And regulation is good. And I think regulators have an important role to play to make sure that we are protecting clients, protecting the industry, and protecting ourselves without overreaching. And so we are guided by them quite a lot. And fortunately, one of the roles I play is I chair the AI Policy Committee for UK Financial Services. So it does give us an opportunity to also steer the regulators in where we think the value should be. And that's hopefully going to help us accelerate some of the value creation across the industry.
Yeah, and Theo, in the broader market, how are you sensing that as well? Are you sensing more internal use cases first? Are you sensing more customer demand, which is driving an expectation in products differently? What are you seeing?
Yeah, I would agree with Lyndon that we see AI transformation on 4 different areas. The first one is with employee productivity. It's probably internal. It's the first thing that comes to mind. 30% extra productivity for any knowledge worker is huge because it unleashes power to do the things that are more important for the business, for banking, for wealth managers, for everyone. So that's the first one. And we see a very good momentum. We have customers like Barclays that are getting Copilot and to use into everyday business. Investec, Lyndon will talk about their experience with that. They have deployed a lot of Copilots in their business. So we see that happening quite fast. The second one has to do with the business processes transformation. Probably this is the biggest area of opportunity for a segment like ours that has a lot of treasury, a lot of operations. Many companies, including Investec, have done mergers, acquisition, and that creates complexity, right? And we have a huge opportunity to transform the way we do processes. And we have examples like Nationwide, that they went in and changed the way they manage complaints, taking the time down from 45 minutes on average to manage a complaint to 15 minutes. That's huge. By the way, they're increasing the NPS of the customers that were complaining, and they might be cross-selling or doing other things. So huge opportunity. The next one, the third one, has to do with the customer engagement. And as Lyndon said, contact center. What a great opportunity to go in and talk with an agent that knows what is your problem, what is your previous touch point, and what you're doing, what's the best product, what are you having, and your problem. So that's massive. And we have customers like Virgin Money that have deployed bots and digital ones that 72% of their customers have already used that to self-serve them. So huge opportunity. And then the fourth area is going probably on the horizon 3, as we call it. The next opportunity, how you create new business models to do something new or different than what you've been doing. And that's an opportunity, for example, we have in the UK with PPL and Lloyd's of London, the Lloyd's market, and how we create a new trading hub with new capabilities and new data insights that will totally change the way we operate and how we attract more funds into the UK market.
Yeah, and so great examples and brings to life the use cases that you were touching on. And so many, many use cases across multiple sections of the business. As Theo was talking about, there's the idea of near-term return on productivity, the longer-term views around rethinking your business. Yeah. So that just introduces a lot of how do you actually coordinate change. Change management has to be a big part of this. Yeah. I've heard a lot about your AI superhighway approach, right, to thinking about this. So I want to go dig a little bit deeper with you around the change approach and how you're thinking about it.
Yeah, well, I'll talk through this by using a particular use case in our organization. So we've got a large specialist finance area in our business focused on aviation finance, real estate lending, and so on. So large ticket items. And these are big deals that require quite a lot of diligence in doing the credit process. At the moment, every year those deals are on our books. We go through an annual review. And the annual review process, producing the content, which is a view on the industry, the lessor, if we've lent to a particular client, the loan amortization, a whole bunch of data points need to come together. We review the deal, but it takes these highly skilled bankers, specialist finance bankers, up to 6 weeks to produce this. What we've done is using generative AI, using Azure Foundry, accessing foundation models through that. We've got this down to between 90 and 180 seconds. Wow. So now they spend a day refining it because the role shifts from creator to editor. And you suddenly have created a ton of time for these bankers to spend with clients, either servicing them or looking for new deals. So when we looked at those sorts of use cases, we went, how do we scale that? Because instead of having a small team of specialists in a center of excellence building every use case, how do we scale this so that every application and every use case and every new business that we build has got this built into it? So we've got a little metaphor we use, which is blueberry muffins. Okay. Right. So what we're finding in lots of engagement with talking to partners, and that's what's really important to choose the right partners, or speaking to industry peers, what people are doing is baking vanilla muffins and trying to sprinkle some blueberries on top, as in the AI capability. Yeah. What we're thinking is you should bake blueberry muffins. Yeah. And so this notion of blueberry muffins is what gave rise to our idea of building an internal AI fabric or an AI superhighway to allow every engineer and every product owner to be thinking about this use case, which has got AI embedded end to end, and allowing them to build it really quickly. And so what we're doing is working, of course, building on the Azure platform, the ability for every one of our engineering teams to build software systems that have got AI enabled all the way through, that does a lot of the heavy lifting so they don't have to think about it. No one really knows how a credit card works or how a mobile phone works, to be honest, but people know how to use it. Mm-hmm. And we're trying to think of a way to do the same thing with how we embed AI. So it's all about blueberry muffins.
Blueberry muffins, which makes it personal, makes it fun. Does it take a little bit of the fear factor away? Because there's this notion about people worrying about losing their jobs, and what does that mean in the culture change as well? So how's your organization responded in that way?
It's been interesting. Early on, we saw, obviously we've got our own version of an AI-based chat. Investec's brand is centered on a zebra. So we've got a zebra GPT internally. With the launch of that, people started to realize the power of what they had. When we turned on Copilot, we started to see some apprehension. They went from, this is really fun and exciting, to, hold on, if this can do that, what am I going to do? And so you've got all the cliches floating around these days that AI is not going to replace you. People who use AI are going to replace you. So we've worked really hard with our teams to get them to understand that the best thing they could do for themselves is learn how to augment themselves with these tools, because that will allow them to move to a different dimension, a different way of operating. And they will operate in a different plane to their competitors. And that's really helped. And our goal has not been to replace people or reduce headcount. It's been, how do we free you up to do these really valuable things? And it's helped with the change management process internally. I don't think we're there. I think as it becomes more powerful and people start to see more of what is capable, it's going to create new fear factors and new dimensions that we haven't thought about. An example is in our equity research generation. We've got a team spread from the US to India, the UK, down in South Africa, and they produce equity research. When they realize how some of these deep research models can really create a version of what they do in a matter of minutes, it started to create a lot of buzz in the organization, with one of the heads of the equities business saying, this is existential for my team. How are you going to augment us really quickly so that we don't get outstripped by the technology? And now how it shifted is, well, we think we could be dominant in this area if we cover every company in every sector because we're augmented by AI. It's shifted from something that we were afraid of to something that we think is a force multiplier now for us.
Well, Lyndon, you make it fun, right? Magic moments, blueberry muffins, zebra, chatbots. So it's bringing business value, but it's also creating some fun in your culture, which is pretty cool. So, Theo, I imagine you have a broad view as well around how institutions are kind of grasping this and dealing with change management. And I think you and I were chatting earlier about some tools around learning. But tell me what you're seeing in other institutions.
So first of all, I would like to say that I love what Lyndon said, because he's very close to what our company is embracing for. That is that we shouldn't confuse knowledge worker with knowledge work. So it's a big mistake that we do. And the fact that we have knowledge work, for example, myself, if I have an agent to manage my emails every day and creating more space for me to do more important things, this is not, it makes, first of all, it makes my work better. So my satisfaction is better, which has a huge correlation to the quality of the output that I will have as a sales leader or whatever I do every day. So I think this is important, and thank you, Lyndon, for identifying and understanding this quite early in this journey. So on the skilling thing, I think that this is very important for all of us. Skilling is very important because it will remove fear and will create an opportunity for everyone to be included in this game and in this opportunity in front of us. And as I will tell you, I think that Gen AI opens a new era of opportunities. And one great example that I have very recently, we are starting to create AI simulation pitches for our sellers. That's what we do, right? We want to ensure that our sellers, our people discussing with our customers, know what they talk about and they do the right thing with the right opportunity at the right time, with trying to identify the needs out there. So I had this AI simulation and I had a little bit of low expectation, I have to say. I wouldn't, and it is great. You can't believe how true it was. It was personal. I had a personal test of talking with a CIO and managing the discussion and the opportunities and bringing up what I wanted to do on the value. So it was a great opportunity, a sandbox that I could play and improve my skills. And I keep thinking how this will be democratized across every organization for Investec, wealth and private bankers and people that talk with customers, how it can improve their skills. And I think this is a massive opportunity we need to embrace.
This is great. We've talked about the momentum, vision to reality. We've talked about change management culture. I want to get a little bit technical. You're Chief Technology Officer, so yeah. I gotta talk to you a little bit about this. So look, the underlying approach to security, data privacy, regulatory compliance, it's got to be a big factor right around underlying your decision, right around the tools that you're using. So tell me what that process has meant in your approach to this and how you and your teams are actually constantly looking at that.
Well, look, I don't think we have the monopoly on wanting to be safe. I think about banks and wealth managers as very simply what we do is look after other people's money, which means there's an added responsibility in the way we think about security. And that has always been an approach we've taken. Our chief security officer will tell you every day, what I say to him is, well done for yesterday. Tomorrow we start again. And it is really as simple as that, Bill. We think every day we start again. The threat actors are not resting on their laurels because they could not find a way through today. As the technology advances, they capture the opportunities with the technology advancement as quickly as we could, which means we've got to find ways to be one step ahead. Now, an organization like ours benefits from the wonderful partnership we have with someone like Microsoft, where you're investing billions into your security protocols, into your practices, and we can leverage quite a lot of that. I describe, if we think about AI in particular, there are two arms races taking place. There's an arms race you're involved in with all the other tech providers, and there's an arms race we're involved in, which is with our peer group, where we're trying to deploy this technology to give us some competitive advantage. I'd much rather benefit from the work you're doing in your arms race, which allows me to fight my arms race. And so when we think about security, that's the same approach we're taking, which is leveraging the capabilities that you can produce for us, along with our own mindset that every day we've got to start again, and make sure that all of these new threat actors and the new vectors we've got to focus on, we come up with countermeasures as quickly as possible. So you've got wonderful use cases, massive hype around Gen AI, massive promise on what could be delivered. If you think about the consumer apps that are out there, ChatGPT, and the whole array, what you can do there versus what you can do in the enterprise, there tends to be a gap. And so as we close those gaps, to make sure that we are reducing risk and securing everything, because you want to fulfill the promise of what people are experiencing in their everyday lives. This is going to become ubiquitous, but you've got to be thinking about taking care of other people's money as the primary anchor point here.
Yeah, and as we're fighting our battle on the technology front, allowing you to focus on your business value propositions and how you actually do more and create more value for your customers. You mentioned the word partnership, and it's a big approach to actually how we think about doing business with our customers in the market, not just being a technology company, but obviously being a partner to actually helping you achieve your business strategies. And I know that's been a big part of the relationship that you've been working with Microsoft. So I'm going to start first you with Theo in partnership, and then I want to end with Lyndon and his points of view. But it's a big part of your value proposition, obviously, in the market. So talk to me about partnership and how you engage with your teams on that.
Yeah, in this new world, I think that in technology changes fast and everything changes fast. So in order to develop a partnership, you need to be very clear on what you expect, sharing information, supporting our customers with investments, with people, with knowledge on how to manage the big strategic opportunities that they have in front of us, in front of them. And that's how we approach. We want our people always to have an understanding on why we are there and what are we bringing into the hands of our customers. And I hope this is what we're trying to do with Investec. And at the same time, it's very important that, as you heard before, for example, Investec operates in different parts of the world, South Africa, UK, and other parts. And we want to ensure that we will meet the requirements of our customers wherever they are and in different perspectives. So that's what we try to build, to bring into the game, have the right understanding, and both of us to know where we stand. We will push a little bit more, they will push a little bit less, and we will find the right way to make things work out.
Yeah, look, Lyndon, we've had a long history working with you. You were, I believe, the very first customer to go on Microsoft 365 Copilot for Sales. So thanks for being an early bird journey provider with us. But what does partnership mean to you?
When I think about partnership, I think about it across 5 dimensions, which I'll explain in a minute. But primarily, I start with Investec's purpose. And we focus on how do we create enduring worth, long-term enduring worth for our clients, but also every stakeholder, our employees. And I think about our partners in the same way, Microsoft being one of them. One of the things we then do is assess on these dimensions. Is this an organization we can partner with to help make a difference for our clients? Is it an organization we can partner with to help make a difference for our colleagues internally? Can they help us modernize at pace? Can they help inject thought leadership to change the way we work? As described earlier, we're digital immigrants, not digital natives. And can we partner with someone which allows us to accelerate our innovation? Because you've got really smart people out there building incredible technology. I know they don't all work in my organization, so how do we find the right partner? And with Microsoft, we found that fit a long time ago. And I'm pleased to say we have created, I think, for ourselves, enduring worth through the value that we found through this Microsoft partnership. We've unlocked it, and it's only the beginning.
For a long, long, long history, of course, which is great. So look, this has been awesome. Good conversation around what it means in the marketplace and how organizations like yourself are working with Microsoft to move forward at pace and scale. I've got a global audience. They've got a lot to chew on in this dialogue, but if you had to boil it down to one or two pieces of advice for customers out there to actually have pace of their AI journey, what would you provide in terms of advice?
I think Theo mentioned the world's changing really quickly all around us. You know, we've gone from 7-year cycles to 7-month cycles, and at the moment it feels like 7-week cycles. And so as you sit with your leadership team, the thing that you've got to figure out is how do you, in the context of this really rapidly changing ecosystem, how do you make 1,000 good decisions a day? And so my advice to everyone would be to figure out how to do that. You know, you've got to have a foundation of trust. You've got to find ways that you can continually share the context that's changing every second around you. So leverage the technology. Find the right partners to help you move at that pace. Because if you're thinking about 7-year cycles, you're probably not going to make it for a very long time into the future. So make 1,000 good decisions a day. There are a lot of anchor points underneath that to make it a reality.
That's awesome. Thanks, Lyndon. Theo?
I would agree with Lyndon. I think that exactly because the cycles have become so short, some organizations out there might choose to wait in order to ensure that they grasp all the knowledge and they know what they're doing. I'm not sure this will work out in the new era and the times we're living in. So, for example, in the new agentic world, I would invite all our organizations out there to start, and all people out there, to start building their own agents, to understand how it works, to test and play, because this will create the right environment in order to move faster in this new world. So I think that testing and starting to play with these new exciting opportunities we have in front of us is a must for every organization out there.
Terrific. Thank you. Lyndon, Theo, thank you again for joining me today in the UK during our AI Tour Week at Microsoft in the UK. Your insights, your perspectives, I think were just awesome. I think my audience has a lot to dig into, so thank you. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
And thanks to all of you out there for tuning into this episode of the Borden Line. I look forward to my next conversation in the series and hope you'll all come back and join me. Please keep the input coming on topics you'd like to hear about in the future. Thanks, everyone.